President Bola Tinubu says there is no going back on his directive to redeploy police officers from VIPs to national security, insisting that ministers who feel exposed during the course of their duty must seek clearance from him. At the same time, he has set up a multi-ministerial committee to resolve payments owed to federal contractors. These were among the key decisions reached at Wednesday's Federal Executive Council meeting. State House correspondent Adesuwa Moran reports.
It was an unusual scene. Before the Federal Executive Council meeting went behind closed doors, President Bola Tinubu made his position clear, restating an earlier directive that police officers guarding very important personalities and ministers must be redeployed to strengthen national security.
If you have any problem of security because of the nature of your assignment, please contact the IGP and get my clearance.
The president again gives specific instructions to the heads of security and intelligence agencies, review structures, ensure coordination, and arm forest guards where necessary.
The Minister for Interior should liaise with IGP and the civil defense structure to replace those police officers who are on special security duties, so that you don't leave people exposed. NSA and DSS to provide further information and form themselves into a committee and review the structure. It should be effected.
Turning to the Vice President, Tinubu urges him, as chairman of the National Economic Council, to sensitize governors on exercising their constitutional power to help end open grazing and its attendant security consequences.
We must eliminate the possibility of conflict and turn the livestock reform into economically viable development. The opportunity is there. Let's utilize it. And it is a neck. If we emphasize the constitutional requirement, we see that the land belongs to in the state.
Hours later, ministers emerged with approved memos. But first, the president's displeasure over unpaid contractors.
In the course of the FEC meeting, the president expressed very, very grave displeasure about the fact that contractors are being owed money. He actually said he was upset. And then he set up a committee of about 6 ministers and said he should look into the problems of giving funds, of paying those contractors.
Months of frustration boiled over as contractors have sustained protests outside the Ministry of Finance, many camping for days, saying delays in payments were crippling livelihoods and businesses. And as part of measures to resolve the crisis, the president has set up a multi-ministerial committee comprising the ministers of Finance, Budget and Economic Planning, Works, Education, Housing, Marine and Blue Economy, the Director General of the Budget Office, as well as the chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service. The council also approved 5 memos from the Ministry of Trade and Investment, including contracts worth over 245 billion naira for 200 electric buses and the Eko Atlantic City headquarters of the Bank of Industry. It also adopted the long-awaited Nigeria industrial policy.
Hugest of them all, the last memo on industry was the approval for the adoption of the Nigeria Industrial Policy 2025. This policy was validated a few months ago, to the general acclaim.
On aviation, the council approved major upgrades to navigational systems and airport infrastructure across Nigeria.
The second, third, and fourth one are infrastructural improvements, real infrastructure in navigation equipment. The The president is very, very concerned about improving the navigational aids in Nigeria. He has told me a number of times that he wants Nigerians to fly safely within our airspace.
Nigerians have witnessed directives on security ignored severally in the past, including a presidential redeployment. Today, President Bola Tinubu is reiterating his orders, insisting no going back. But the question remains, can he enforce compliance and resist pressures from VIPs insisting on police protection? Well, the government's ability to turn these decisions into actions will be closely watched. From the presidential villa, Adesua Omoruan, Arise News.
Well, meanwhile, the Nigerian Senate has expressed serious concerns over the withdrawal of police orderlies attached to senators, saying the move could expose members to unnecessary danger. Deputy President of the Senate, Barau Jibrin, disclosed that the leadership of the Senate held an emergency meeting on the issue on Tuesday as it seeks to secure exemption for lawmakers. In a point of order, Senator Abdul Ningi said while he has no issues with the withdrawal, he is disappointed that the directive is being flouted. He wants strict compliance with the directive, starting with the presidency, the office of the vice president, and federal ministers. The Bauchi senator said while his police orderly has been withdrawn, he continues to see some businessmen, including foreigners and celebrity singers, being escorted by contingents of police officers. The Senate mandated its Committee on Police Affairs to investigate the alleged disregard of the directive and file a report within 4 weeks.
This thing should go across the board. It should not be, don't worry, it should be done across the board. Let's see what happens from the office of the president to the vice president, to the Senate President, to the Speaker of the House, to the ministers. Mr. President, I'm coming after they have withdrawn my only orderly. I saw 2 convoys of ministers, and they were carrying lots of security personnel. I have also seen business concern, Chinese and other business concern. Yesterday, with the compliments of orderlies. Mr. President, I have also seen daughters and sons of political office holders having orderlies and having security covers. Mr. President, I have seen singers having orderlies and complimentary of protection.
Yesterday, I'm sure you saw us, we had leadership meeting. This was discussed, and we took an action, and we expect the outcome of that action to be available to us today in respect of the police orderlies that were withdrawn from the senators. It's of concern to us, and I will raise the issue, and we're dealing with that, in the formal line, so everything will be done. We're on top of the situation. But in respect of those, the fact that the directive of Mr. President being flouted, where you have the class of persons that he just said, singers, businessmen, and what have you, having policemen. The chairman of the Police Affairs Committee should take up this matter, conduct a proper investigation, and let us know why is the directive of Mr. President being flouted.
Well, in other news, as Nigerians prepare for the end-of-year holidays, air travelers are groaning over the sudden hike in airfares. Arise correspondent Godfrey Eshemoge reports.
Nigeria has witnessed a massive hike in airfares over the past 2 years, driven by rising aviation fuel costs following the removal of petroleum subsidy. Now at the peak of Yuletide travel, many passengers are lamenting the reality of paying far more to fly. This December, one-way tickets on some routes crossed 300,000 naira, nearly 150% higher than off-season prices.
Considering, if you are doing a fast booking, it's usually the rate goes to 300 and above. So it's actually a bit cheaper. It's quite unfortunate. It's due to, they said due to aviation fuel now, the rate for aviation fuel is a bit high, so the rate at this festive period is quite expensive. So that's why the rates are like that. But I believe that the government should actually look into it to see how these prices can be subsidized for we locals in the country.
I think the authorities have to look at it. I mean, there have to be some form of regulations, and I feel if our roads are safe, a lot of people want to use the road than actually flying. There are a lot of people that are scared of flying. But I think this is a wake-up call for government to also ensure that our roads are safe. And it's festive season, so people are ready to pay whatever it is for their safety, because it's safety first. If you look at going by the road and God forbid something bad happens, 250 to 250 million, for example.
Air travel, once seen as elitist, has become the fastest option for many Nigerians amid security concerns. But demand this festive season has pushed ticket prices to record highs.
Of course, I would have driven, that's what I used to do, but because of this bandit incident, kidnapping incident, because if they hold you, the 300 and something thousand you will pay won't be anything to so you better cough it out and have your safety than spending the time in the bush. If you are alive, God's on your side, then you spend millions, to see yourself. So that's it.
Arise News took up the situation with the Minister of Aviation.
The industry has long been deregulated. The moment Babangida said private airlines can come in and fly, they deregulated in terms of pricing and all of, just like a free market. And so government has absolutely no powers to fix prices for private enterprise, including the aviation industry.
The major question now is what has suddenly given rise to the over 100% hike in airfares. Godfrey Eshamoge, Arise News.
The Senate, through its Committee on Foreign Affairs, screened more career ambassadorial nominees on Wednesday. Those screened were Ambassador Sulu Gambari Ahmed from Kwara State, Ambassador Ahmed Mohamed Monguno from Borno, and Monica Okuchuku from Anambra State. Others include Onaga Kingsley, Enugu State, Besto Maimuna Ibrahim Adamawa, and Aminu Nasir, Katsina State. The State Senate also screened non-career ambassador and serving senator from Ondo State, Jimo Ibrahim. He was simply asked to take a bow and go. A career ambassadorial nominee from Ekiti, Adeyemi Emmanuel, was however unable to mention the names of all the 3 senators representing the state.
Permit me, even though in absentia, to recognize my senators, Senator Michael Okpeyemi Bamidele, and Senator Raphael Adeyemi Adaramodu. As you may be aware, today the Ekiti State launched its airport, and so therefore my 2 senators are in Ado Ekiti to participate in that event.
But just for the record, you stated 2 senators. I'd like you to mention the name of your 3rd senator, please.
The Senate leader informed me that I should stand in for him here to confirm, to support the nominee from Ekiti. That is Ambassador Adeyemi Emmanuel. However, it's not too good if you are from Ekiti and you don't know your 3 senators. And to make it worse, you told us you have 2 senators in Ekiti. That's what, excuse me, please. That's what you said.
No.
Please. And I noticed, that's what you said. You said 2 senators from Ekiti. And to worsen it, I noticed when your partner was going to show you the 3rd senator. The 3rd senator is Senator Fashui Sire. On behalf of the people of Ekiti and the Southwest, I do seek that we pardon his error. Simple questions. If you don't know, simple things. Say, please, I'm sorry, I don't know this. We don't expect you to know everything. Okay? Just to add that. Thank you.
I wanted to comment on what Dixon just said. It's not about you are not meant to know everything in life. That is fair. No man should know everything in life. But this one you should know. You are coming to represent, or you are nominated from Ekiti State. You are coming to the Senate. You ought to know the 3 senators that represent your state. It's not a frivolity. There is no frivolousness in the question that has been asked. You are going to be a diplomat by the grace of God, if and when cleared. No, as an ambassador. You will be representing Nigeria in the country. You should know this sort of questions at the very least.
Well, a rowdy session on Wednesday erupted in the House of Representatives as lawmakers debated a motion alleging that the Central Bank of Nigeria failed to remit over 5.2 trillion naira in operating surplus and an additional 11 trillion naira in government revenue. Sponsor of the motion, Honorable Bamidele Salam, says fresh findings by the Public Accounts Committee reveal major discrepancies in CBN records, prompting calls for the CBN governor and relevant agencies to appear before the Public Accounts Committee.
It's a very simple issue. If you are not in agreement with a position taken by a member, you reserve the right when the question is put for you to say nay. You are not in support. And the nay will carry if they are the ones on the majority. Do you need to be shouting to get your way? It's not supposed to be so. Please let us stop this. Honorable Marquez said, I'm warning you. If you don't stop this behavior, believe me sincerely, and Honorable Kabir Mepalas will take you to ethics. I do not want to set an example in this house, but you are trying to force me to. If we continue to behave or rule in this house.
Public Account Committee computed the collection from the data supplied by the Central Bank of Nigeria to be 19,834,886,731.77, leaving a difference of 11,098,385,523.19. The fourth category is the missing balance on the take-on Central Bank of Nigeria core system. Further note the discovery of a migration discrepancy amounting to 2,686,325,119.825 naira being outstanding and payable to the federal government asset recovery account. Concerned that cumulatively, the committee has uncovered that the Central Bank of Nigeria is indebted to the federal government of Nigeria to the tune of over 11 trillion naira, arising from the foregoing infractions and discrepancies. Disturbed that despite several formal communications and invitations extended to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria by the Public Accounts Committee to appear, provide explanations, and remit the outstanding amount into designated government account, the Central Bank of Nigeria has failed, refused, or neglected to honor the invitations or effect the required remittances as directed by the committee.
I rise to amend the motion ably moved by Honorable Bamidele Salam for the House to resolve to compel the CBN governor, to summon the CBN governor and relevant agencies involved to appear before Committee on Public Accounts unfailingly.
In other news, Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State has emerged the 2026 governorship flag bearer of the Accord Party with a pledge not to take confidence reposed in him by the people for granted. The voting began with the accreditation of 5 delegates each from the 30 local government areas of the state and was monitored by officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Inter-Party Advisory Committee, among other election observers. The governor, who is the sole aspirant, was declared the winner, having polled 145 votes out of 150 votes cast by accredited delegates that took part in the primary election. He was subsequently presented with a certificate of return by the national chairman of the party as the flag bearer in the coming Osun 2026 governorship election. In his acceptance speech after the victory, Governor Adeleke pledged not to take for granted the impressive confidence reposed in him by the people of the state and the Accord Party.
I accept my nomination and election as the governorship candidate of the AFCON for the 2026 governorship election. I assure you that I will not take it for granted. By God and man, I vow to lead our great party to victory in 2026 by the special grace of God. The Electoral Committee has delivered on its mandate to conduct free, fair, credible, transparent, and acceptable peaceful governorship primary.
Well, in sports, 11 days to the start of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, Super Eagles coach Eric Shell is at the center of a tense standoff with the Nigeria Football Federation over unpaid salaries, as he is yet to unveil his final squad for the tournament. The 2025 AFCON will be played from December 21 to January 18, 2026 in Morocco and Nigeria, and the 23 other sides are allowed to select up to 28 players for the 2025 finals. The deadline for naming squads is Thursday, December 11, and the mandatory release date for clubs to make players available is Monday, December 15. Well, these are your news stories. A number of things happening. It's like everything, just towards the end. We have a FEC meeting, police protection, Nigerian Industrial Policy 2025, Ambassadorial list on remitted funds by the CBN, Governor Adeleke being now emerging as the governorship candidate from the Accord Party, and of course AFCON. Today, I believe, is the 11th of December, so today is the deadline.
I just hope they are not going to continue the level of shame that we had by not qualifying for the World Cup. Because this was the same thing that happened before we played Gabon. And we went ahead to play Congo and we couldn't sail through. It is one problem or the other with the NFF. So the question now is, should we have to beg President Tinubu like we literally begged him the last time to make these funds available? Or how are they going to release these funds and trying to be able to avert this damage and this disaster? But you see, with this sort of a scenario, I'm not expecting anything great from the team. I like to cut my expectations according to the threshold of my heart and how I can take heartbreaks. Because I don't want to invest my expectations in this team and I feel hurt. Are you surprised about the ambassadorial list? I mean, these were the things we talked about. An ambassador that wants to represent his country. Take, for instance, which most likely I'm sure he will be passed. And he's in a country representing Nigeria abroad. And a young child from a school in that country says, I want to know more about the state you are from. And please, Ambassador, can you tell us some of the senators in your state? And he gives that child a false and wrong information. And it's not only this nominee from Ekiti State. There are many others like that in that list. That we think the character is phony. The character is despicable. And President Tinubu just made this ambassadorial role a job for the boys. And we've always said it. President Tinubu, enough of all of this paddy-paddy and politicking, because he doesn't bring about competence. We need competence. So is this the bunch of people we waited for 2 years? Then you must be humoring all of us. Because when you look at the list, some green shoots here and there, but pervasively, leaves much to be desired. Very despicable, to say the least, that some quality of persons there will be the ones to represent this our great country. And in fact, it's an indictment on President Tinubu's government. And the joke is on all of us. As regards President Tinubu's directive, I deliberately asked because I like to fact check myself. When he first made the order to withdraw police officers from VIPs, did he put any proviso? Dr. Bati, you told me no. Then the president makes that same order again and starts to put proviso. So it just shows that what the president said before was not workable. A president gives a pronouncement in a country, it's not adhered to. There are many leaders in their own right that they feel they are more important than the president's pronouncement. Even the president succumbs to pressure. I know his handlers will say it's because he listens to people. But if the handlers say because he listens to people, the proviso I will also put to the handler is that didn't he think through the decision at first before he made it? Because with most things in this administration, they don't think through decisions. Just like the presidential pardon, just like the ambassadorial list. It's after they do it, then people kick against it. They say, oh, we could have done this better. Just like the ambassadorial list, where the Attorney General had to now review a list already put out by the President. So now, the President has started reviewing his own, giving a proviso saying we should go and meet the IG to clear with him. How shambolic. Because for what it's worth, everybody will have a reason to still have police guards with them, and they will give the IG some cock-a-bull story, and he's going to make concessions. Take, for instance, we're joking, we're having satire at full blast yesterday about the President's son. I don't think they're going to take a lot of the guards off the President's son. So it just, again, shows how decision-making process is very faulty under this administration. How we say these things because we expect better. And they are not doing better. So now that he has given the proviso, he's as good as not making the law. And you will see how everybody in the world will have a justification to meet the IG that need police protection, including ministers that use outriders. But I think the deeper part of the conversation we should ask is, how did Nigeria get to a point where everybody needs a police escort because of the level of insecurity? You hear when we're talking about airfares, that's report by Godfrey Shemoge. Yeah. And the man said, the reason why I will decide to pay over 300,000 is because what's the cost? If you drive on the roads to do over December, or your Christmas, and they kidnap you on the road, you pay millions and you might still lose your life. So that's the kind of problem we face in our society. And we can blame all the airlines all we want, but what about the taxes by the government? How has the government helped to cushion effect? Minister Kiyamo was saying something. He said, yes, the system had been deregulated since the 90s. People can bring in their airline. Yes, but what about the heavy taxes that the government control? But I also remember at a point in this country, former CBN Governor Emefiele, when the prices of air tickets went up, he cushioned the effect by bringing in aviation fuel at a subsidized rate for the airline companies that reduced the prices. So what is the government giving us this in return? So it was obvious now that about a year ago when the government did the free bus scheme, it was just to, make the people like them. Because when people are groaning from the hardship and disaster, someone will have asked, where is that scheme now to help the people? But the other question you stretch it to be is that was the scheme even effective in the first place? Didn't we see shenanigans across board? So as it is with every government, and you see that's all of this I'm analyzing today, is why people have mistrust. When the government says anything, people don't believe it. And real quickly, the CBN conundrum is another thing I want them to look into that was enunciated in the House. We need to be able to see through that CBN conundrum. Then Adeleke going to AFCON and getting the party ticket. For the legal expert, and I would like to ask his information commissioner when he comes, I also remember that Adeleke did purchase a form, and he was also the sole candidate then. What happened to that form in the PDP that he purchased? Is it going to have any knock-on effect on this form? So it's on record that he has purchased 2 different forms from 2 different political parties. And I'm saying all of this because we live in a very litigious society. Our politicians have perfected the art of using the court system against adversaries. Will this crop up? Will this not crop up? Only time will tell. But a lot of conversations out there.
No, let me deal with the Adeleke part first of all. No, he already resigned November 4 from the PDP. Subsequently, the People's Democratic Party held their primaries in Osun State. He did not take part in that. Even if at any time he had expressed interest, that expression of interest was overtaken by events. The PDP now finding itself in a manner in which it is factionalized, not knowing, which way INEC will go based on legal advice. And that was why I argued yesterday and before yesterday that what Governor Adeleke has done is to just play for survivor. But our court party will need to be built up. It will need to mobilize the thumbs-up community in Ekiti State to build that party into a stronger political party. He has an advantage. PDP is divided. The APC, they've disqualified some of their more prominent persons who may then decide not to be active in that campaign. But at the end of the day, you never know. If PDP survives, he may well return. As I've argued previously, it's just calculation for survivor. Very quickly, let me go to the central bank. Now, the central bank yesterday was accused by the Public Accounts Committee. I think it was Senator Salame, right? Yes, that's his name. Making that point. And he was saying that the CBN has to be summoned to come and explain this unexplained 5.2 trillion that is hanging somewhere and another 1.1 trillion that has not been added to government expenditure. Now, look at it. The CBN makes profit through foreign exchange transactions, bank charges, and all of that. And that's different from his running costs. He keeps that money aside. He can use that money, either for anti-development purposes or for pro-development purposes. What we have seen under Olayemi Cardoso is that he's very reluctant to invest in development issues. And I say this by citing the example of Emir Sanusi II when he was CBN governor. He intervened in a number of projects supporting, supporting development. Emefiele had the famous Anchor program. He was so involved in the development process that we started saying he was overstretching himself. Okay, that the bank should just focus more on monetary policy. But a central bank, as banker of last resort, as banker to government, as the agency involved in monetary policy, can use its surplus, let me use that phrase, to involve in development. We have raised a number of issues this morning about persons not being paid. AFCON, that is the All Indigenous Contractors Association of Nigeria, they've been carrying placards that government is owing them for projects that they have completed in 2024, running into between 500 billion to 700 billion naira. And that the total debt is about 4.1 trillion. And then the CBN is sitting on, as alleged, 5.2 trillion. The Bank of Industry is not funded. I think one of the senators was talking about Bank of Industry. Now, what are they doing with that money? The Bank of Agriculture is underfunded. Many of these ministries, do they even have money? Have you ever heard anything about the Minister of Steel Development doing anything? What are they doing in that ministry? Have you ever heard anything about the Ministry of Environment? What are they doing in that ministry? If they don't get the money, they will not be able to do anything. And then you say the CBN is sitting on almost 6 trillion naira. So I support the request by the senator that the CBN should come before the Accounts Committee, Public Accounts Committee, and the Senate to explain how it is supporting or not supporting the development process. Now, then you talk about Eric Chow. Now, the president said they should pay Eric Chow months ahead, up till October. They paid him. But I hear that one senior official of the NFF is now saying, oh, they will pay him. But he's supposed to announce the squad today, and he has not announced. They say he has not complained, so he's looking at them. So we are going to AFCON. We are having issues with payment of 3 months' salary and bonuses to the Malian Frenchman that we brought to come and help us. This is his third major assignment, and we are hearing stories again about bonuses and allowances. As for ambassadorial screening, the man who does not know his senators, well, the name that he didn't give is Siri Fashui. Ekiti is represented by Siri Fashui Adaramodu from Ekiti South and Bamidele Okpeyemi from Ekiti Central. But what I don't understand is why Senator Jimoh Ibrahim was asked to bow and go. And I don't even know what Senator Ibrahim, who is doing very well in the Senate, wants to do with ambassadorial appointment. Because he's a very active politician. But if it is his choice, but they should at least have asked him 1 or 2 questions. Maybe ask him to name the 3 senators from Ondo State. But let them pay the indigenous contractors. Yeah. Because when we say contractors are not doing well, if you don't pay them, they say they are facing financial ruin. They've borrowed money. Some of them are dying. Another, they have to carry placards. Is that the way we treat foreign contractors? And yes, CBN is allegedly sitting on trillions of money that they are not using for any development or progressive purposes.
I think you're right, Dr. Bati. In the spirit of transparency, and I don't know what the Rowdy session was for, when we were calling for accountability with the Central Bank of Nigeria, particularly with unremitted funds running into trillions of naira. We need to know where the funds are, what they were used for, and why due process wasn't followed. And so we doubled down on that and asked for an inquiry into that particular matter. Now, moving away from that, I wanted to just touch on a few stories this morning, a lot before us, and of course in the course of today's show we'll have an opportunity to really dissect in detail some of them. But for the police protection, as was discussed yesterday at AFCON, one of the things that we talk about when it comes to policies like this is implementation. So in principle, it makes sense that if we have a shortfall of officers on ground, especially at a time when the nation is grappling with insecurity, and one of the challenges that has consistently been highlighted is the fact that we don't have enough police personnel. Now we're going to recruit 50,000, but before they get recruited, get trained, the president has given a directive that about over 11,000 police officers who are currently serving VIPs should be pulled out and deployed to actually do what they were trained for. Excellent policy, or great policy. But in terms of the thinking through and implementation, there would be a lot of snags and bottlenecks here and there, bureaucracy here and there. And that's why Rufai, perhaps the president, having received post his announcement, feedback from different quarters, this concession he has made around if you need it based on the hazard of your job or a particular assignment or task that you're given, then speak to the IGP of police and IGP and I will clear you. However, it was also announced that the IG had sent to police officers who were protecting VIPs that if they were found wanting of obeying this directive, they would be ranked lower. They would be demoted in rank. But more than this, if we want a policy like this to work, we cannot punish the police officers alone themselves. We must also punish the perpetrators, the VIPs themselves, who continue to have these police officers as part of their protection apparatus as a result of the fact that they themselves are disobeying a directive from the president. Perhaps even introducing a whistleblower policy whereby people who identify these people who are disobedient can send an anonymous message and identify them. It's very easy. People see them at parties, see them at outings, and we can help the president actually fulfill this mandate of ensuring that police officers go back to doing what they were trained to do. I say this because there should be no sacred cows. There are examples where this has happened in the past. Policies like the spraying of naira at parties. We've seen incidents where in some parties, by some figures in society, nothing is done, and then some low-hanging fruits are picked up, made an example of, and that's where we see the end of that. So it can work, but there are a lot of actions, a lot of things that must be put in place. Another thing that was approved yesterday, and I thought was very important to mention, is the Nigerian Industrial Policy Plan. We keep talking about how we must turn Nigeria into a productive nation in order to hit that $1 trillion economy by 2030, or at least see a GDP growth. Now, in order to do that, one of the key policies is the Nigeria First policy, which means that in procurement processes for MDAs, they will be mandated to put first consideration for goods and services made in Nigeria. And that is definitely a step in the right direction. Right from cars that are used, office stationery.
Let's start with his own car.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
that's
why I'm highlighting that particular policy, because it has now been approved, and we are hoping that we'll begin to see the changes, in government, whereby we can begin to promote, just as we had America First, Nigeria First when it comes to goods and services. Also, yeah, you're going to say something.
No, you finish.
Okay, yeah. So just to land on that, now on the airfares, I need to just make a point here. The truth is that, yes, they say the taxes are higher, but taxes haven't increased this December. So there's also an issue around fairness when it comes to competition amongst players. That sector has been deregulated, but in addition to deregulation, it's also the work of the FCCPC and other agencies to ensure that consumers are not taken for granted or not exploited in favor of profits, high profits. When it comes to market forces based on a free market, business owners can decide based on demand and supply to increase fares to, enormous amounts. And it cuts across. If you look at Airbnbs in Lagos, talk about dirty December, price of transportation, even the people who are complaining, who own businesses, increase or hike up their prices, in such a way that a lot of people cannot afford, and it is almost bordering on ridiculous. So this is where we should actually look at beyond the taxes. Taxes have been on for a long time. It's a conversation that's ongoing, but also the players themselves not to take advantage of this season to almost rip off Nigerians, and even some services not commensurate to the amount of money that's been asked for. So these are some of the issues this morning. I'd like us just touch on this morning. Dr. Abati, you're going to say something for
No, I was going to say, when I was talking about CBN, I spoke about Senate, but it's House of
Representatives.
Honorable Salam is in the Senate from Osun.
Okay, he's in the House of Representatives.
House of Representatives.
He's honorable. All right. I had something to say about the ambassadorial list, but just to say a very quick line on that one. So traditionally, long-standing tradition in the Senate is that current serving members are asked to take a bow and go. But we have criticized that move a lot of times, that even though Senator Jimoh Ibrahim is on those South, but we have to go.